Socialization is a central topic within sociology, and I would go as far to say that socialization is a distinguishing topic within sociology. If you think about our various social institutions like government, family, uh, the economy, healthcare, religion, you can study those in a number of different, disciplines or academic fields. If you think about, the various sources of inequality, gender inequality, racial and ethnic inequality, inequality on the basis of age or the social class that someone is raised in. You will study those sources of inequality in other fields or disciplines aside from just sociology. But sociology stands alone with respect to other academic disciplines because of its attentiveness to how individuals and groups and communities experience and make sense of culture and various cultural elements. And that's what socialization is. Socialization is the process of learning the ways of life in society. And if that term, the ways of life in society, probably sounds familiar to you because that was our shorthand or short and sweet definition of culture. Socialization is this lifelong process by which people learn the attitudes, values, behaviors appropriate for members of a given culture. So socialization is this lifelong process of learning about culture. As we grow up, as we make our way through the life course, we might be not only learning about culture, but teaching others about culture. We might introduce cultural elements to our children. We might introduce the norms and values of a certain workplace or a certain organization to others who are just starting at that workplace or just starting at that organization. So socialization is this lifelong process by which we are introduced to and by which we make sense of various cultural elements. Socialization is carried out by what we call agents of socialization. Agents of socialization are the people and things that carry out this socialization process. You see a number of agents of socialization in parentheses. The family is listed first. The family is said to be a primary agent of socialization. If you think about what that word means, primary, it can mean a couple different things. Primary can mean of greatest importance. We might say my primary concern, or my primary emphasis here is going to be such and such. Primary can mean most important, or primary can mean first, occurring first before other things, occur after that. Well, family as an agent of socialization checks off both of those boxes for a vast majority of individuals. Family is the most important agent of socialization for many, and certainly the first agent of socialization for many. If we think about the language that we speak, the religion that we observe, certain values that we have, our sense of morality, a lot of them, or a lot of those, come from the influence of our family. Family influences us before many of these other agents of socialization. Not for everybody, but for a vast majority of the population, family is going to be a primary agent of socialization. Other agents of socialization include peers, our friends, or just people who are in a similar stage of life as us. Schools, the schools we attend and the various people that we encounter within those schools. Media, it could be social media, could be broadcast media, magazines, newspapers, social media accounts, which are falling under the umbrella of social media. But what we see in media acts as an agent of socialization. We are introduced to behavioral norms in media, get introduced to certainly material elements of culture, foods that are served at certain restaurants, new styles of clothing, styles of dance, new movies, new books, new musical, songs, albums, so on and so forth. They get introduced things oftentimes through media. The neighborhood can act as an agent of socialization. We pick up on what's normal, what's not normal, the way people dress, the way people interact with each other. Neighborhood can be a powerful influence in such regards. Organizations or the teams or groups that we belong to act as an agent of socialization. And also healthcare or the medical field. Now, that one might not be as intuitive as some of the others, but a lot of our behavioral norms, a lot of our understanding about what is healthy or what is, desirable for our bodies, the body figure we want or the weight or the body mass index that we want, a lot of that influence comes from doctors, medical professionals, nurses, nutritionists. I think, I think about my own life. uh, I discovered the wonders of sweet tea in my mid 20s when I was in graduate school in Louisiana. Having grown up in the Midwest, you order iced tea, and it's going to be served to you without sugar. It's going to be unsweet. The waiter or waitress, they're not going to ask that. They'll just bring you unsweet tea, and if you want to add sugar to it, you can. Then when I moved to Louisiana for graduate school, I discovered, sweet tea, and in due time, I was drinking a 32-ounce glass, of 32-ounce cup of sweet tea every day. Sure enough, that affected my blood sugar levels, and it got to a point where I had, pre-diabetic blood sugar levels. I could no longer be drinking a large cup of sweet tea every day. My behavior needed to change. My diet needed to change. People receive similar instructions uh, with regard to, needing to exercise or needing to watch other aspects of their diet. Think about smoking. We have less smokers now than we did in, say, the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Much of that can be attributed to what we know about the carcinogenic or cancer-causing effects of smoking tobacco, the effects that has on our lungs and the way other organs of our body will be affected by that. So healthcare and medicine plays a role in socialization as well. You see a term in the notes there, anticipatory socialization. The root word there being anticipate. If we anticipate something, we know that it kind of lies before us on the horizon. If we anticipate something, we know that it comes before us. Anticipatory socialization, therefore, involves agents of socialization preparing others for the statuses and roles that they're expected to take on in the future. Right? Parents, now they can't predict the future, but they're often raising their children with an understanding of what they're likely to encounter in the future. Parents might not want their children to dress a certain way because the parents know that, well, in their workplace, that might never be acceptable. They might not want their children to behave a certain way because they know that based on what they, the parents, have seen in their lives, that type of behavior could get someone in trouble, could cause you to be perceived in a negative or unflattering light. Now, again, no one knows what the future holds, right? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, 5 hours from now, let alone 5 years or, 15 years from now. But these agents of socialization tend to introduce individuals to the elements of culture that they think will be most helpful to them. That someone who works as someone who works a job where they get paid in hourly wages, where it's really important for them to be on time and work the entirety of their shift so that they get paid for those hours, going to be much more likely to raise their children to be alert to the importance of punctuality and being on time than, say, a parent who works remotely and can work at any hours of the day and being on the clock, so to speak, getting to work on time and punching in, working the entirety of their shift so they get paid for each hour. It's not nearly going to be as important to the remote worker as, say, the hourly wage worker who has to clock in. So parents tend to raise children, and teachers tend to teach their students. Managers tend to manage their employees in ways that reflect their expectations for that person. I think these values, these behavioral norms, uh, this alertness to the meaning of symbols will be beneficial to you. That's all based on what the statuses and roles we think the people we're socializing will experience in the future. I've talked about statuses and roles a few times now. Let me define that. A status refers to the title or a position that an individual occupies. Within each status, there is an accompanying or a corresponding role. A role refers to the norms that the holder of that status is expected to carry out. As the instructor of a course, that is my status, the instructor. The role refers to what I'm expected to do, the norms that I am supposed to carry out within that status. So I am supposed to present the class material. I am supposed to evaluate students. I'm supposed to be available to students to help them with any difficulties that they're having in the class, clarify concepts, help them study, help them prepare for their papers. Ultimately, or at the end of the class, I need to issue a grade. And then I also consider it a part of my role to be a resource to students after the class has ended. Say if they need a reference or a recommendation, or they have questions about a major or minor in sociology, or they want to talk about classes or projects that they're doing. So, making myself available to students even after the class, that's a part of that role. Statuses and roles change throughout the life course. We have a lot more statuses and roles when we're in our 30s, 40s, and 50s than we do when we're 5 or 6 or 7, when we're probably just a son or daughter and student, right? We tend to accumulate statuses and roles as we grow older. In socialization, we learn how to function within these statuses and roles. Significant others and generalized others can both also be agents of socialization. We often hear that term significant others and think of like a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband, wife, a love interest. Sociology, it has a broader meaning. A significant other is going to be someone whose opinions and feedback matter to us, right? It might be a father, a mother, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a sibling, maybe our boss, maybe someone who's interviewing, someone who is training us, that, their opinions, their feedback of us matter. We want to impress them. A generalized other, well, for one, it's a concept. It's an abstract concept. A generalized other is not another human being or another individual. The generalized other can be looked at as the general public, Joe Publix, Jane Publix, so to speak. Generalized others also act as an agent of socialization because we pick up a lot about culture from them. If we wake up on Saturday morning, maybe we got to do some grocery shopping. Well, why is it that I change my clothes and I don't want to go to the grocery store in my pajamas? Well, it's not because there's significant others who are likely to be at the grocery store. I'm not necessarily trying to impress any one particular person, but I know from the generalized other, the general public, how people are likely to dress there. Certainly if I'm going to a fancy restaurant, I might dress a particular way because I have an understanding of how the generalized other is going to dress there. Reference groups also act as an agent of socialization. Reference groups refer to people or groups that we look to and make some type of evaluation about ourselves. They can be role models, people we look up to, people we aspire to be like, or they can be people who we do not aspire to be like. Those people are always getting in trouble. Those people drink too much. They're using too many drugs. They're acting in ways that I don't find decent or moral. I don't want to be like that. We look to other people and make some type of evaluation of ourselves. We can see reference groups in media. All right, we see an advertisement for ab exercise machine or some type of Peloton, some exercise machine. Well, those people are ripped. Look at their bodies. I need to get in shape. In that case, they're a reference group. Resocialization is a process that simply refers to learning the elements of culture again. Resocialization takes place basically when people are having problems in life. Maybe they're committing crimes, they're abusing drugs or alcohol, they're cheating on their spouse. Resocialization can take place in a total institution where one's decisions are made for them, or it could just be in the form of counseling or a meeting with a boss or a supervisor. But we're learning the elements of culture again.